Hello, everyone. This is Donna Sharp with day 15 of Owning Your Brilliance Facebook Live Challenge, a 21-day challenge. And it's just unbelievable how quickly 15 days arrived. It's more than half of the way through the 21 days. Tonight, I'd like to talk about what does being brave really mean? Do you really understand what being a brave person is, or just bravery in general? I'm sure if you were to look it up, you'll see some of the words such as being courageous, being strong, just being vigilant. One of the things that stood out to me is that, hi Tara, thank you for joining. One of the things that stood out to me is that regardless of what it is that you're going through, being brave is stepping out and facing the fear head on, okay? A lot of times we have fear when it comes to doing anything, especially something that's new and challenging or something that is unbeknownst to us. So you probably heard this before. What fear really means, it's just false evidence that's appearing real. It's something that we imagine that's there in front of us when it truly isn't. We're putting ourselves in the way. Now, it's easier said than done because some people are more courageous than others. Some, it takes a while to really step out of themselves to face things head on. And then there's others that just takes it right by the hand and just runs with it. And that's because we're all different people. We're made up of different character, different personality, different speed, different culture. We just come from all different backgrounds. And so how we face our fears and deal with bravery a lot of times depends on how we are brought up, from a little girl, a little boy, from just our youngster age. Maybe we weren't surrounded by friends that gave us a little bit more social involvement, so we stood to ourselves or played with our own dolls in our own room and kind of kept ourselves separate from everything else and never had that warming and that friendliness from other people. But some of the dictionary, let me show you some of the things that the dictionary describe it to be: audacious, unafraid, gallant, fearless, bold, lion-hearted, just vigilant. Those are some of the words that's described in the dictionary as far as what fear really means. I like this one. The dictionary defines bravery as having the mental or moral strength to face danger, fear, or difficulty. Hello, Patience. Thank you for joining. Great to see you. Again, the dictionary defines bravery as having the mental or moral strength to face danger, facing fear and difficulty. So it's facing it head on. You have to be mentally prepared in order to be brave. I mean, you may look at something and say, this is easy, I'm going to do it, and then you approach the situation and then you have second guesses. I was once watching something on television, and this gentleman was being tested to see how he would withstand challenges that he was faced with. But what they did first was they broke him down to nothing first. They really dissected to see. Let me just back up. What they did was they had a room full of people, okay, and they wanted to see which person in that room stood out to be able to face this particular challenge. So out of tons of people, they ended up choosing this one guy. And the one gentleman, the reason they chose him is because he had a very, very strong view of migrants coming to the U.S. So they chose him and they put him through several challenges. They placed him in situations that were very fearful, things that might have him second guess to see if he really was a person that he said he was. And I'll give you just one example. One of the things that they did is they brought him in a room and pretended they were putting a microchip in the back of his neck. Okay, slit the neck open back here, put the microchip in, and every time something happens, they may have a chime or something that goes off that this gentleman gets activated by listening to, by putting this chip in his neck. Now, what's funny is they did not. Hello, Opa. Thank you so much for joining. They did not put a chip in the back of his neck. They just told him that they were going to install a small microchip because they needed that chip to monitor the progress as he was going through all these different challenges. So they pretended that they did it, they slit it, the knife, they put the chip in, and he thought that was done. So what they did along the way was they placed him through several challenges just to see if what he's saying about not liking migrants coming to the U.S. was an absolute way that he felt deep down, or was this is something that was culture driven. So one of the tests they put him through was they put him on this banister overlooking this lake, and he had a fear of heights. And what he had to do was walk out to the ledge. Okay, he had all his gear on. When he jump in, he'll float, all of that good stuff. He had to walk out to the ledge and then jump off into the water and face his fears. He did not pass that challenge. He did not jump off. He just kept saying, okay, I can't do this. Why am I even up here? This is crazy. So he couldn't face that. He walked back on the plank, back to the ledge, and went, and they put him through another challenge. The other challenge was they placed him in a room with, I think, like a Mexican guy, and sat him in a chair face to face, okay? And he had to do the stare down, him and the Mexican guy, for about 4 minutes, not blinking an eye, just staring right into his face. And before the 4 minutes was up, this gentleman that they had on this test started to blink, and in about 2.5 minutes or so, he started to cry, just broke down in tears. And he says he just felt this overwhelming compassion for this Mexican guy sitting right in front of him. So they had him face what he felt in his heart that he thought he felt, but that was actually not true. The other part that really was very impressive to me is when they took him out to a deserted location. Okay, it was nothing but desert, and they brought a film crew in, set up an entire lagoon with guys and bikes and everything, and this was all a setup. Just keep that in mind. They had camera guys at the saloon, and they had a bar there. There was a bunch of bikers that came in. So he was driving with one of the cameramen to the scene. And when he got there, the cameraman said, listen, we have to take the car in for maintenance, so I'm going to have to drop you off here, and I'm going to go back, and then I'll come back and get you. So he dropped him off at the bar, left him there. He had no clue who was around him. Okay, all these people were strangers to him. He felt very out of place because these guys were big, they had bikes, they had jackets on. So the gentleman went to supposedly where the maintenance shop was, and then he called him and said, listen, the car is going to take longer than I expected. I want you to just stay right there. Actually, he said, what I want you to do is find somebody there to bring you to me, because I'm going to need you to come to me, because I can't come to you. The car is going to take a while to fix. And require probably messing your name up, I apologize. And so he asked him to bring someone to him, right, at the maintenance shop. And he says, well, who am I going to get to bring? I'm out here in this deserted place. There's no one that's going to be here to take me to where you are. I didn't even know where you are. And so while he was at the bar, the camera crew set up behind the bar. They were looking out from the back of the scene and making sure the mics were on and making sure all the people were set up in their locations by the bar. And so now he's looking over his shoulder and is feeling really uncomfortable. So what one of the bikers did was introduce himself to him, and he says, hey, how are you? What are you doing out here? And he's like, oh, just stopping here for a moment, just waiting on a friend of mine to come back and pick me up. So what the bikers did was, to make sure he felt comfortable, was gave him one of their biker jackets. So now he has the jacket on, and he's feeling a little bit more at ease, because now he's feeling a part of this biker group. So he's not feeling out of place, because remember, he was dropped off in a strange place while he was waiting on his vehicle to be repaired. So what happened was, then 2 guys came of foreign descent into the bar, and when they came in, they went to get a drink. But the bikers looked at them and said, I don't know what you guys are doing here, because we don't have any place for any Mexican in this bar. And so now the guy is feeling really out of place, because although he had this view that people from a foreign country does not belong in the U.S., he felt a little bit compassionate as to how they were being treated by these biker guys. So the biker guys got on them really nasty and kicked them out of the bar and said, you guys need to get out of here. You don't belong here. What are you doing here anyway? Kicked them, like threw them out of there. And so he felt really bad, although now he had this biker jacket on and felt like he was initiated. So what happened now, he's feeling stranded. His ride's not coming back for him. They just dropped him off in this lonely place. And next thing you know, the biker guys go outside and they knocked all the Mexican descent, went out, knocked all the bikes over, right, just to tick off all these biker guys. They knocked them over, jumped in their car, and drove off. So what did the biker guys do? They came out of the saloon, and they all got on their bikes. They started to chase these Mexican guy down, and the gentleman that was there watching all of this, they told him, come on, jump in the truck, let's go. So they're driving to the scene, they're pulling guns, they're doing all kind of crazy things. And remember, the whole thing now, this was all a setup, but he didn't know that. He was under this test that they were putting him through, a series of tests, but this one took the cake. They wanted to see if he was going to take a bullet for these Mexican guys, okay, and just based on this whole scene that they just staged and set up. So the biker guys drove off. They threw him in a van, took him with them, parked, and it was a standoff. All right, it was a standoff. So now he's in the car. Remember, he has a supposedly chip installed in the back of his neck, and every time he hears a certain chime, then basically what happened, his adrenaline picks up. So that fear that he is facing is all of a sudden gone when he hears this particular chime. So what they did was they staged that same chime to be positioned in the radio station in the truck. So now he's in the truck by himself. There's a standout outside. The Mexican guys are being held by their neck and saying, man, I told you guys not to come around here, but you did. You knocked all of our bikes over, so now we're going to take care of you. So now he's feeling very nervous, because he's not sure what to expect, because guns are being drawn. He's like, how do I react to this? Do I get involved, or do I just sit here in the car and just pretend nothing is happening, or duck when things start to happen? But then the chime came on the radio. So now his adrenaline is going, and he decides to get out of the van, and he jumps in front of the biker guys and shakes his head and said, I'm so sorry, but you can't do this. Don't do this. He said, stop. Don't do this. Don't do this. And they told him, you need to get out of the way, because these two guys came in and irritated us in the saloon, and so now we're going to take care of them. And he was like, please, I beg you, please don't do anything to them. Well, gunfire went off, okay, and it went directly to him, and he thought he was shot. But the whole time, when they gave him the jacket in the salon, the bar, the jacket was a bulletproof jacket. So they wanted to make sure he was protected, so when this whole scene was acted out, he wouldn't be in danger. So he thought he was shot. So he jumps and he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys did this to me. He was so fearful. His heart sank. He said, I can't believe you guys are doing this. Well, long story short, they tested him again. And his first initial notion was, I don't like Mexican people. I don't like foreigners coming to the U.S. because this is our country. Another test that they did, just jumping over, segueing a little bit, was testing to see what his descent was. And when they looked to see what DNA he had, lo and behold, part of his DNA buildup was of Mexican descent. And so they put him through a series of tests just to show that, you can have one particular observation of something, you can be fearful of something, but when you're really put to the test, is that really how you feel? Well, at the end of that whole standoff, the only thing he said he wanted to see was his wife. They said, listen, this was all staged, this was a setup. Nothing's happening. The people that were at the saloon weren't real. They were all actors. And he bawled his eyes out. He bawled his eyes out. And he said, the only thing I want right now is my wife. The only thing I want. And he says, I just have no ill feeling against foreigners coming to the country. Number one, because in his blood there was foreigner DNA background. So how can you hate someone that you're part of? And the fear that they placed him through, just trying to jump off that cliff into the water, he had to face it head on. So tonight, I know that was a little long, lengthy story, but it was so fascinating. If I remember the name, I'll tell you so you can watch it for yourself, because it will have you on the edge of your seat to show that what you truly say is it what you truly are doing, is it what you truly are facing. So being brave is a series of things. It's being very courageous. It's when that adrenaline starts to flush up to your neck and you're feeling warm inside and you're saying, man, can I really do this? Can I really do this? So just remember, don't be fearful of anything, because fear, again, is false evidence appearing real. It's not what it really is. It's just your mind. It's that mental piece that's telling you otherwise. I remember I spoke yesterday about that little person that's on your shoulder, that still quiet voice that always whispers to you and tell you whether or not you're on the right track. And 9 times out of 10, what that voice is whispering is the path that you should be taking, but a lot of times we ignore that. So the remainder of the week, if there's something that you have been fearful of in your life, try to face it head on. Just give it a shot. Overcome that fear and become brave, because you are made up of more than you think you can withstand. I hope you enjoyed this session tonight on bravery and what bravery really means. I think a great test to that is all of our veterans that are facing the front line. There's things that they face and they have to come home and deal with it on a daily basis and have to live through it and live through those memories of things that happened. But they have no choice, because they have to go out there regardless. So if you're ever put to the test, can you actually say that you are brave and fearless and is willing to withstand the challenge? Think about it. My name is Donna. I thank you so much for joining. I thank you for your patience and listening to my long, drawn-out story, but it really drew a good message. It probably comes better if you watch it yourself, but I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was very inspiring to me. So this is day 15 of Owning Your Brilliance live 21-day live challenge, and as always, thank you so much, Require, for joining, and Patience. You guys probably fell asleep on me. I don't see any comments. You're probably like, this Donna needs to just hush. Miss Patience, thank you all so much for jumping on tonight. I really appreciate it. And Tara, have a beautiful and a wonderful evening. And I will see you tomorrow for day 16 of Owning Your Brilliance Live. Take care. Ciao.